So Shadowban, I think you may have read about this. I don't. I want to ask you first. So here is the. Have you heard about the Senate Democrats approved a 3.5 trillion spending plan? This is written by
So
Lauren Elizabeth. Yeah, yeah.
Is this the infrastructure package we're talking about? Because I got notes, brother.
Yeah, so it says here it's still incredibly early days and the legislation still needs to be written. But depending on how it all turns out, I will be the first to eat my previous words. Early Wednesday, August 11th, Senate Democrats managed what I consider to be unlikely. They have apparently agreed to a $3.5 trillion spending plan, Kelsey Snell with NPR writes. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has released a text of a $3.5 trillion budget framework that is meant to give Democrats the opportunity to approve major federal investments in child care, family leave, and climate change provisions without support of congressional Republicans. In a letter sent Monday morning, Schumer told Democrats that the goal is for committees to write legislation to fulfill the spending targets by September 15th. I will say, before I go any further, I do not trust these bills that are passed by Democrats. I don't trust bills that are passed by Republicans either. But I mean, of course, we have to look at nuances. Sometimes there could be something good, like, for example, Tulsi and Matt Gaetz when they partnered up to try to release that when they try to when they released that legislation to try to protect whistleblowers. But here, I've seen a pattern when it comes to trying to release things like, oh, this is an investment for childcare, family leave, or for climate change. And then in the bill, they include things that are a giveaway for corporations. But anyway, Snell goes on to write that framework includes specific targets such as $200 billion to go towards clean energy development and $726 billion for health, labor, education, and pensions committee to address issues like universal pre-K. While this is excellent news and a step in the right direction, CNN's Claire Foran and Ali Zaslav were quick to point out that the package will need to be put together in a way that ensures the backing of every Democrat, ranging from moderates to progressives, and the challenge that could still be posed by familiar roadblock known as Kyrsten Sinema. Laughably, CNN also warned of the unelected Senate staffer/advisor known as the parliamentarian who may rule against certain priorities without pointing out that Democrats can overrule the parliamentarian if they chose to do so. Considering the $3.5 trillion price tag was even in question before, this is all still a step in the right direction. Before getting too optimistic or cynical, it'll be interesting to see what's in the text of the legislation and how the money is ultimately appropriated. So I'll leave it there for now. I can put this article in the chat. Go ahead, Shadowman. What do you got for us?
Okay, so I'm a masochist. I like legislation. If I could read it all day, every day, I would, because I hate myself that much. So this is something entirely new, and this is just coming out. I mean, this is their new trick. Well, first, let me preface this by saying, number one, any spending bill has to originate in the House. That's the way the Constitution is written. It has to originate in the people's house. So whatever the fuck they do in the Senate doesn't fucking matter. It has to go to the House. The House has to write it. The House has to pass it. That's the way it fucking works. So them fucking coming out with these flowery fucking things that go to committee, it's all bullshit. But there's this new fucking game that they're playing in which they're coming to these backroom fucking deals and they're not releasing the text. And they're coming to these backroom deals and say they come to an agreement and they've got the votes when they haven't written the fucking legislation yet. And it's dangerous as fuck because, like, dude, that infrastructure package bill, like, it's 2,700 pages, and I've been busy as fuck, and I've been trying to get my fucking worm my way through it. I'm about 15% or so through, because I scanned it first, and then I deep dive and I start referencing fucking things that they refer to, and that takes a whole lot of time. Because they reference other bills and they reference different agencies and then they have these new pilot programs or whatever the fuck. But none of these fucking people actually write the bills. The bills come from lobbyists every fucking time. So the idea that this is going to be a win for the working class is fucking horseshit, and it always is, because the fucking people that you elect, the people that are selected to represent you in fucking Congress and in the Senate, they're not fucking working for you, man. There is no fucking way for you to get them to fucking work for you. They have their fucking legislation written by fucking lobbyists that are paid by fucking corporations. So there's this facade of, oh, they're going to do something for us. Bullshit. The fucking bill is written by the fucking corporations for the corporations, and they have and the fucking people in the fucking House and Senate get a chance to vote on it. And that's it. So I'm fucking mad as fuck about this new spending bill because they haven't even fucking approved the fucking infrastructure package. And they fucking, and I hope they fucking don't, because that shit is fucking bad fucking news. It's all about data harvesting, bro, and fucking like, how are they gonna fucking I hope the Stalinists get giddy for this fucker, but they fucking on page 230 of the new fucking the new infrastructure package bill, where it's talking about human capital, which is something that when I was on Convo Couch I was fucking furious about, because I'm not your fucking capital, motherfucker. I'm a human being. They're talking about a 5-year plan. That's straight out of Stalin's fucking playbook, right? And the text reads, it provides for the immediate and long-term personnel and workforce needs. So they're building infrastructure for certain cities in conjunction with private corporations to build their industry there. So they're publicly funding the infrastructure for the private corporation's fucking profit. That's how the infrastructure bill is written. So I don't want to fucking hear about how they're fucking out there working for us in fucking Capitol Hill. They don't fucking have the bill fucking released yet. Don't fucking tell me it's for me. Sorry, I get fucking mad about it.
Hey, it's understandable, man. We have to get mad about this. Like, they try to gaslight us by focusing on like, oh, it's great investment for climate change, and they get these progressive faces to promote it. But then if you read the text, which is so long, and it's done like that on purpose, it's by design, you see that it's a corporate giveaway. Unfortunately, that's what the Green New Deal is, if you really look into it. Like, where are they challenging the military-industrial complex in that bill? They don't challenge it at all. Do they challenge the oil lobby there at all? Fracking is still allowed with it. And then the same investors in the fossil fuel industry will be profiting off of the new big green industry that is supposed to, be benefited by the Green New Deal. It doesn't talk about deforestation or any of that stuff. But yeah, Marcus, your thoughts, man.
I mean, both you make very good points. I mean, deforestation is not talked about nearly enough. And that's going to accelerate to a lot of these extreme weather conditions that we're going to start to experience more and more. I talk often about how a lot of the Native American tribes are, I guess I'll say indigenous. A lot of the indigenous to America, they're in lands which are kind of what you would call the leftover parts of America, where they were forced into the parts where, the United States didn't necessarily want and gave them kind of the worst of what they could. So now some of those people are starting to run into flooding problems and all kind of issues, which is forcing them out. One tribe in Mississippi in particular, I know was pushed out to, I believe, I think somewhere in Louisiana, northern Louisiana, something like that. But that's starting to happen. I heard another tribe where they were in Wyoming, and they were starting to have some issues there with extreme temperatures. And so, this deforestation, they talk about it on the media. They'll talk about how, Bolsonaro, how he's, what he's doing down there. And don't connect that issue to how it affects all of these other things that we're going to have: flooding, larger hurricanes, tornadoes, and all of these different things that are going to start being more and more frequent. I mean, especially out here in California, a lot of the guys I've been working with, they're like, we're not used to all this humidity. I mean, what the hell is this? I mean, for the last probably month, it feels like when I used to live in Florida. Get home every day and my shirt is drenched by the end of the day.
How can we get people to look more into these bills and see how it's detrimental to communities, especially these minority communities, these indigenous communities?
I would tell us to do that, I guess I would say take a different approach, because a lot of times we're overly scholastic, and so we'll look at the bill and try to show them through that means. Sometimes for some people, you just need to point out how corrupt these motherfuckers are. If you point out that part, then they're able to know that most of what's coming out of their mouth is bullshit. That's how you expose a lot of the nonsense with some of these people. Because, for instance, why I kind of had no feeling about the whole Bill Clinton thing back in the day? The reason why is the person who was charging him at the time, the Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, at the same time, his wife was in the hospital, like on her deathbed. He's out cheating on his wife. And so you're the person who's coming after him for cheating on his wife in the office while you're cheating on your wife. And I realized, what the hell? And then, like Shadow was talking about, how many times where they literally slipped up and left the letterhead from the lobbyists on the bills? One of them in particular, one of the main ones they use, ALEC. If you're not familiar with ALEC, look up ALEC. But that's one of the major lobbyists. And when we're talking about lobbyists, the department which we are talking about inside these corporations is full of lawyers, multi-million-dollar lawyers. That's what it's full of. Those are the people who are really writing this legislation. So when you hear Pramila Jayapal get up there with her Medicare for All bill, come on, really? You think she really sat down and wrote all that? Come on, Let's think about it. None of these politicians are writing that. I mean, think about just their schedule alone. They spend most of their schedule literally campaigning. And a lot of them spend time actually on Twitter. I know it's hard for some people to believe that some of them are actually literally, that's them on Twitter and not just some staffer while they're busy at work. Is you can hear the same mannerisms in their speaking. When they talk and you watch their interviews, they're saying the same exact thing. Now, unless somebody is paying that much attention to the candidate to literally try to do every single thing like them and be that convincing, that's kind of a tough one for me. But if you just look at their schedules, they spend most of their time literally trying to raise money. And then you factor in how much time they're out of session. If you only have a 2-year term, how much time do you have to actually really write bills like that?
So then, the majority of the time that these politicians spend is just really like they're promoting their next election cycle, right? Their next primary cycle.
And the legislation that you have two sets of legislation. The legislation which they have for the actual agenda, which they want to go on, the Democratic or Republican or whatever, however you want to frame it in your head, or whatever that legislative, agenda is. There's the stuff that they throw out there for elections. So when they throw we're gonna do, $15 an hour, but it got shot down. That's an election ploy, because they're gonna run on the fact that they tried to do it, but they were stopped. I mean, how could they have stopped the parliamentarian? I mean, come on. It's the parliamentarian. And that's what they're going to use. And so what they'll do is they run little bills like this, which is like a Democratic wish list. It gets killed by, a lot of times the right-wing Democrats give it a lot of trouble even getting out of committee. I'm talking about just in Congress. Then if it does make it out, it gets crushed by the Republicans and then chopped up and then sent back to them and then chopped up again and chopped up again. And then it gets to what was actually going to come out in the first place. That's
Right.
the actual little shell game that's being played here. They give you the wish list to say, I fought for you. And then when
We
that
did
gets
everything
shot
we
down,
could. Yeah.
Yeah, they blame the Republicans then. See what the bad Republicans did? And Joe Manchin, they could shut Joe Manchin down in a heartbeat if they wanted to. It's so easy for them to do that to any of these politicians. All they would have to do to Joe Manchin is completely take away all of his financial support, which he gets from the Democratic Party in the state of West Virginia. And none of these politicians want to use money out of their own pocket. That's what it comes down to. And so he would literally have to start getting everything from campaign donations. And so if all of a sudden the senator is literally getting every single penny that he gets from major corporation, it looks really bad. And so that's why they would be forced into, okay, all right. I'll calm down and do this legislation here and there. But since they never try to put any of that pressure on them in any kind of way, they can literally say, all right, cool. You're going to do that? I'm taking you off of this committee, taking you off that committee, taking you off that committee. And he can literally sit there and be like Steve King was, completely neutered. They could do that to him. They could do that to Sinema. They could do it in a heartbeat. But they don't want to. Because Mama Bear has already handed out some nice little checks to all the good boys and girls.
They're like walking propaganda for their next election cycle then. And if you point out the flaw, they're like, oh no, don't worry about it.
Glee.
What about
Glee.
people's rents? When I asked AOC and Cori Bush, I was like, what about will people's rents be forgiven? Because that wasn't included in the bill.
Track shoes.
Yeah, this is like, we'll worry about that later. And then when Colin's like, what about the 10%? What about the 10%? Let's turn on the music. Like, they don't want you to know that. Like, they just want to look like heroes, and that's what Cori Bush did. It was a freaking advertisement for her campaign, because then she sent out a text. It's like, donate money to Cori Bush's campaign. She fought so hard to try to get this good thing for you, where we prevented evictions from happening for another 60 months for just 90% of the population, even though 10% are not going to be saved, and that is 1.1 million people that are still going to be evicted, tripling the amount of homeless people. They leave all that shit out. I want to share this last part
that's part of the infrastructure package, though. That's part of the infrastructure package, is that they're harvesting this data so that they can see who is moving where. Like, that's what they mean by human capital, is that people are moving out of these mega cities like LA and fucking Watts and all these fucking spots now, because they're trying to find opportunity elsewhere where it's cheaper to live. So they're trying to fucking lock them into this constant slavery thing, because they know that when they leave LA, they're going to go over here. So how are we going to raise the rents over there? Maybe we can put up this fucking fancy ass park over here, and then we'll triple the fucking taxes for over there. So by the time that they actually get on their feet over there, it's going to be the same exact cost of living as where they just left. It's evil, man.
Insane.
These people are fucking vultures.
And I wanted to bring up something which you said, like when you were doing that interviewing out there, you literally ran into everybody calls them the staffers. They're not staffers. That's not what they are. That's their title. But what they are managers. That's what they are. Their job is, when somebody like you starts asking questions that get a little too sticky, sir. Sir, what is your name? Which outlet are you from? The Frank Analysis. Well, thank you, Franco. Thank you. Yes, we have to go, but thank you, Franco. Thank you.
They're like, let me get your email and then we'll get back to you. They're just throwing that shit away. They're not gonna actually email me.
Those are bouncers. Those are political bouncers. That's what they're doing. You literally just got like bounced out of the club. That's what happened.
Yeah.
But politics, they got optics, so they have to be super friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, speaking of that, actually, if I could throw one thing in, because I don't know what happened, but I lost connection a while ago. But
You're good, Charles.
I was watching your stuff, Franco, when you were out there, protesting about the whole rent moratorium. And, of course, obviously one of the key figures there was Cori Bush, and I saw your interaction with her. But I came away, really disgusted in a way with Cori Bush, just for a few different things. Obviously, whenever you tried to talk to Cori Bush, you were pretty much turned away. And Max Blumenthal pretty much was too. At first, she was like talking to him, though, right? But then when he kept pushing on the force the vote, then those bouncers, as Marcus was talking about.
They're not allowed to talk about that. They're like,
yeah, then they step in and basically just run him the hell off and get him out of town. And I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, number one, this shows a big entitlement. Like, you're there as part of a protest. You're trying to show me that you're symbolically with the people. Why don't you fucking interact with the people? Like, why are you afraid to go into conversation about certain questions that they have? But furthermore than that, there was a clip that started making its rounds on social media that I found just to be extremely hypocritical. Okay? She literally defends why she's going to hire armed guards to protect her because she's had attempts on her life and that she's going to make sure they can't succeed. So I'm going to hire guns to protect me, and then follows it up with, and we have to defund the police. And even Fiorella put out the tweet on it, and it's like, all cops are bad until they're your cops or something like that, right? I mean, it's such shit, man. These people make me sick.
Hypocrites. Yeah, and then people unfortunately still defend them.
Yeah, that's an understatement for some. Defend is an understatement.
Jeez. Yeah, it's like you're attacking like their superhero or like their favorite celebrity.
Defend is so much of an understatement. I wasn't even certain that all the officers would even be charged in the George Floyd thing. I mean, the George Floyd murder. I wasn't even certain all of them were even charged. So that shows you how jacked up, how much we perceive, I mean, I look at, and a lot of people don't know this. I worked for a sheriff's department. When you see the inner workings on how connected all of these people are, this person is related to that person, and that person grew up with this person, and they all know each other. And so the higher echelon in most of the police departments are all buddy, and it's a good sense of what is it when you're hiring a bunch of your friends? Can't think of it right now. Nepotism, exactly. So friends and family, that's what becomes through the whole thing. And so if you get one police department or a few police departments where that's a racist ass family, then most of that police department's going to run that way. And so the only way you'll avoid that is hopefully some of the other officers who work there don't follow that same, mentality. But what normally happens is either some are too silent, some will willingly play along and go along with the officer even though they know it's wrong, or some will disagree with it but cover for it. So you got all of those different dynamics going on, because what you don't know is this officer who shot this kid, and you don't hear about it for about 7 months. Well, that DA is his sister-in-law. And so also the public pretender that they appoint him, that person also went to law school with the damn judge's son. So when you start finding out how interwoven and the nepotism, you'll see why they cover for the police so highly. And a lot of these politicians know that they protect the ultra wealthy. And I'm not talking about even just I'm not talking about the random people you see that are worth a couple million here and there. I'm talking about into the big boy billionaire club level. When it starts getting to that level or higher, because there are higher levels, much higher levels. When it gets to that level, those are the people who are making the decisions. And they decide that if anything ever went crazy, and a lot of them are worried about water wars. I know you heard Kamala bring that up. That's why she's a little ditzy, but she did pay attention a little bit in the World Economic Forum classes. So knowing about what's coming up, they're hitting some of these things out, so it can also set people and get them prepared for when they start to see the shit happen. And so, as it starts setting you up, just like Shadowbound was talking about with circular cities, this is all involving all of these things, with the what's known but can't be talked about from the World Economic Forum. I'll leave it there. But with all of these things that are going on, they're all interwoven. And these people want to make sure to protect themselves if shit ever goes crazy, because they've already heard on social media, the same people who are censoring all of those tweets and texts from some of our favorite friends out there on Twitter and Instagram or whatever, and they're going in on the oligarchs and saying something and those tweets get pulled away. You get flagged all the way up, and those people know, okay, this is a city or area or rough group of people that we need to watch out for if shit ever get really bad. And so it's the reason why London is the most, the most cameras, most watched city. That's just a format. And so each city does their own thing. This city's like, okay, we're going to work on, all of these scanning and machines and body scans, which you see a lot of places like Singapore. And then you get over here to some of these other countries, and then it becomes vaccine passports. Or you get to this other country, and it's cameras, surveillance. And so each little place is doing their own thing until it all starts to, all of them are doing all the same thing. Make sense?
Makes sense. And also to power these surveillance cameras, and now they're trying to use more virtual reality and stuff to just spy on the people. They need resources, these elements that you get from the global south or you can get from the Arctic. That's what the fourth industrial revolution is. It includes ramping up surveillance on the people. Guys, let's continue this conversation on Rockfin. I think we're killing it here. And there's some stuff that I really want to discuss that we can't discuss on YouTube, because then they're gonna, take this video down. So guys, if you want to watch the rest of this conversation, hop on over to Rockfin.